Okay, I decided to do some audio commentary before I get into this video. I'm getting ready to do a video here to basically show the people who don't really think about this kind of thing how chemical weapons travel through the air. Chemical weapons are heavier than air. Okay, a lot of people don't know this, and that's because a lot of people don't study up on it, man. Most people don't care. Okay, and a lot of Gulf vets who were there between 1990 and the 2003 invasion, when Saddam Hussein was armed to the teeth with these chemicals, and when he was using them, most of the vets who served in the Gulf during this time don't take the time to study this stuff. So I'm going to show you guys here with facts. This is how chemical weapons react in the air when Saddam Hussein was spraying them, or like I said, back in the ground war when Saddam Hussein was launching Scuds and the Patriot missiles were taking them out and exploding them. Okay, chemicals head for the ground. They're heavier than air, so they gravitate towards the ground, and then the wind will take them the rest of the way. Now, okay, chemical warfare. There's two different ways you can use it. For anybody who doesn't know that these war criminals, Syria, this country, they have chemical weapons as well. Okay, I don't agree with that country. They're war criminals, I believe, you know, the same way as I believe Saddam Hussein. My opinion is nowadays anybody with these weapons of mass destruction they're just freaking war criminals. Okay, there's no need for these chemicals. These chemicals are used by terrorists. Terrorists are the only ones who have a use for these chemicals. There's two ways of using these chemicals. There's either full on. Okay, the chemicals can be either deployed full on, straight on target, which will cause death, you know, immediate death and disfigurement, or you can use these chemicals in low level type situations where you can use the wind to dissipate them slowly, and the wind will blow these chemicals upon you, and they'll get in your lungs, they'll get on your skin, and you'll barely know that you're even affected by these chemicals, but they're doing the damage to the inside of you. Okay, as I've told you guys before in my videos before, Saddam Hussein has been experimenting with these chemical weapons since the early 1980s. He experimented on, he even experimented on prisoners, death row inmates. Okay, so he would explode artillery shells, and he would put the death row inmates so many meters, okay, possibly even up to miles downwind from these chemicals. He would tie them up. These chemicals would travel onto these death row inmates, and immediately after, Saddam Hussein would order his scientists to take these inmates live. Okay, take them, cut them open while they're still alive, and look at the damage that was done to their intestines, their guts. Because see, once you're far enough away from these chemical weapons, there's no real, you know, you don't get the physical signs and symptoms that you see a lot of these people get. Like usually when chemical weapons are right nearly full on, like mustard gas, you'll get burnt. Okay, to burn you, blister you up. Certain other chemicals, you'll get a rash immediately, and I'll talk about that more when I get into this a little bit more. Like I said, I've studied up on this for a long time, guys. I've done my research on this, and I got a video coming up as well, but I'm waiting to see what the outcome of this is. There's some newly affected individuals who have been affected by Saddam Hussein's chemicals. Okay, and I'm trying to find out. They've just been exposed not long ago. I'm trying to find out. I'm trying to keep an update on what their health situation is. But as I said, back to Saddam Hussein's experiments that he has had experimented using the wind with these chemicals. he knew exactly how far to put these chemicals, you know, how far away these chemicals would affect a person, an individual, because he'd been experimenting with them from all the way back to the 1980s on death row inmates, etc. If you guys haven't, you know, if you don't know about that, go check my video where in that video, a couple videos down, man, I talk about Colin Powell speaks on the Shamal winds. Okay, and he speaks about Saddam Hussein experimenting with these chemicals on prisoners. I put that out in a earlier video. Okay. Now, this experiment that I'm getting ready to show you is around about the same. When I told you guys that you know, these chemicals gravitate towards the ground. Now keep in mind, they gravitate towards the ground, and then the Shamal winds will take them, okay, all the way, you know, across the ground, man, across the desert. And, you know, eventually, like I said, they'll start to lose their toxicity, but still, it's toxic enough, man, to where you probably don't have any physical symptoms, but it's burning your guts up, okay. And they'll go into, you know, like I said, they'll go into Kuwait, Saudi. And I want to make a point here. I want to get on this point, but I want to make sure I include everything. Oh, and keep in mind these chemical weapons. Okay, you got to keep in mind when they say that some people from Gulf War, okay, Gulf War I, from 90 to 2003 invasion. Some people didn't show the multiple chronic signs, symptoms, and diagnosed and undiagnosed illnesses found in Persian Gulf veterans. Some people had it, some people didn't. Now, the reason for that is because chemical weapons, when they travel through the wind like that, of course, they gravitate towards the ground. The farther they go across the desert while the wind's taking them, okay, they start to lose their toxicity. And keep in mind, the farther out they go, the wind splits them. Okay, the wind will split these chemicals, and, you know, it'll come across the unit, and, you know, maybe somebody will get a whiff of one of those, you know, get a whiff of the chemical. There could be somebody, you know, maybe 20 meters over to the left of them that they won't even, you know, it'll miss them. Okay? So, and again, when they lose their toxicity, like I said, Saddam Hussein had been experimenting with these since the 80s. He had to cut prisoners open just to see the damage that it did to their guts, because the physical damage, it didn't show any damage to them on the outside. That's how good he got with experiment with these chemicals. So the units that were in the Persian Gulf all the way from the 1990s to the 2003 invasion, no wonder you didn't see, you rarely seen any real you know, blisters or anything like that, because the toxicity, it loses toxicity. Of course, like I said, you do hear about the rashes. You've seen the rashes. Now let me go ahead and get into the video, but I just wanted to bring that part up to you guys so you guys could better understand. And like I said, I want to do a simple little scientific experiment here, showing you guys how chemicals are heavier than air, so they gravitate towards the ground. Alright guys, enjoy the video. Oh, by the way, pay close attention to these 2 points I wanted to bring up. I wanted to bring up 2 public threats that Saddam Hussein was making in the 90s. Okay, he made these threats publicly. These are documented, and you can Google on these, and you can find that these are authentic threats that Saddam Hussein was making in the media, in the public media. One of these threats was this threat, and I quote, this is exactly what Saddam Hussein said. This threat was made in 1994. This is Saddam Hussein's exact words, and I quote, "Our striking arm will reach America, Britain, and Saudi Arabia before they know what hit them." Saddam Hussein made this threat public in a newspaper in 1994. Another threat I wanted to bring up to you guys as well. This one was made in 2001. I wanted to make sure I put these in there because I want to give you guys a good idea of why I say that Saddam was using these chemicals from 90 until 2003. This particular threat was made in 2001. Okay. Now this threat, Saddam Hussein, and I quote, said, "The United States must get a taste of its own poison." Okay, those were his exact words. Now, if you listen to these threats and you research this threat, particularly this one, the United States must get a taste of its own poison. Okay, you guys do know that he said a taste of its own poison. Anybody who knows where Saddam Hussein got his chemicals from, he got those chemicals from the United States. That's basically what he's saying in that statement. It's by saying the United States must get a taste of its own poison. He's saying these poisons came from the United States. They must get a taste of their own poison. See, now you guys get a good understanding of just another one of the reasons why the U.S. government does not want to talk about this. They want to keep this stuff hidden, and they just want this to go away. They, first of all, don't want all the Gulf War veterans to know who've been affected. Okay, who Saddam Hussein has used these chemicals on them all the way from 1990 to 2003 invasion. The ones who exhibit the signs, symptoms, chronic cluster of signs, symptoms, diagnosed and undiagnosed illnesses caused by these chemicals. That's why the U.S. government doesn't want this stuff to come out, because these chemicals came from the U.S. government in the first place. Alright guys, enjoy the video. Peace.
Okay, I just decided to do a real quick experiment for you all to show you all basically the advantages of chemical warfare, and one of the reasons that pretty much proves that Saddam Hussein was using these chemicals in the Gulf from 2nd August 1990 all the way to the 2003 invasion. As I mentioned to you guys before, if you guys remember, they pulled back the no-fly zone back in 1996. If you guys remember, I told you about that in one of my videos. That's when they figured out that Saddam's jets were, spraying those chemicals, flying up and down the fly zone, flying within the fly zone, and spraying those chemicals, and letting the Shimal wind take the chemicals from that. I forget the exact parallel now. I'm forgetting my. I've told you guys my memory. I have a bad memory now. But I think it was the 32nd to the 33rd day. Well, Saddam was flying those planes, and they spray the warfare. Well, the warfare chemicals are heavier than air. So when they're sprayed, they gravitate towards the ground. Once they hit the ground, the wind takes them across the desert, and like I said, the gravity holds them towards the ground, and the Shimal winds. You guys remember the Shimal winds? That was Saddam Hussein's key method of transportation for his chemical warfare. The Shimal winds will blow them across the ground, take those chemicals into Saudi, Kuwait, and a lot of different other areas, man. So I want you guys to watch this. This is 10W30 motor oil, and this motor oil right here represents the air, and I have some water that I'm going to pour in here. This water represents Saddam's chemical weapons. of what the actual reaction would be. You'll see that it's going to gravitate towards the bottom of this little makeshift cup I have here. Okay. That's good enough. You guys see that? All the water gravitated towards the bottom. It's heavier. Okay. That oil represents the air. The water represents the chemicals. That's how chemical warfare reacts, dudes, to air. It gravitates towards the ground and it stays towards the ground. Now, anyone who doesn't believe me on this, let me know in the comments and I'll show you documented facts of this. I will show you documented facts of Saddam Hussein's chemical warfare gravitating towards the ground. And that's the purpose of what chemical warfare, that's how it's engineered. Alright guys, peace.